Hello, beautiful ladies. Karen McCoy here, and welcome to today's lab video. Is aging just a number? Well, I think you know what I'm going to say about that. Okay, so we are recording. We are live. My computer crashed yesterday. Both computers crashed yesterday. So I went out and grabbed another one and moved everything over onto this old relic of a computer. Oh, thank you, Chrissy. I'm glad somebody's out there. Thank you. I was just going to ask, is anybody out there? So I have a whole new, I'm hoping you guys can see me and hear me. My apologies. I'm kind of doing this on the fly. So let's talk healthy aging. Okay, so is age just a number? Well, here's the deal, guys. It's not and it is, okay? So it is just a number because you can get into this healthy lifestyle and healthy aging at any moment, at any age. And I love to see women coming in at 40, 50, 60 saying, you know what, I'm new to this and I want to get in the groove and let's get at it. And I love that. There's a lot of women that are doing like their first shows in their 50s, and it's just beautiful to see. But age is a number when we have to look at how the body responds. And so there's two kinds of audiences, and we have to keep these audiences different in mind. So there's the audience of women just coming into looking at managing their movement, managing their food, looking at staying lean or getting lean and staying there. And then there's those of us that have been doing this for a long, long time. And so they really are two different cohorts. So we have to remember that, right? And I love women of all ages getting involved in healthy fitness and weight loss and metabolism and all that kind of stuff. But the body does respond differently. And I need to put that out there first, because if we knew what to do for decades, then our body responds differently to the aging process. I know this because I have experienced it, okay? So I have been doing this stuff and pretty consistently since my early 20s. Strength training, specific strength training. And I've done other stuff. I'm a yoga instructor. I'm certified. I'm a BOSU instructor. I do all sorts of sports. I was in track and field, all that kind of stuff. But the strength training is what we're going to talk about today, because you guys know that's my jam, right? And then the food, I kind of figured it out along the way as I did my shows, and that was where I learned a ton about food, and I mean real food. I'm not talking all the trendy stuff that's out there right now. So we're gonna look at that as well. So new women coming in at 40, 50, or 60, coming into wanting to shift into a healthy lifestyle, they have a different history, and that history has created for many of them more challenges, because the body has not been in a routine of a certain kind of eating and movement for decades. And I see this in myself. I didn't see it so much in my 40s. I was still really good in my 50s, but I crossed the barrier over into my 60s. And that is when things really start to show up. And so I was still kind of naive in my 50s thinking, oh, it's not so bad. I'm in my mid 50s, it's okay. And I was in the hair salon today with an old client of mine. I don't mean old as in age. I mean, she was a client of mine years ago. And hi, Isabel, nice to see you here. Yay, I've got my Mastery girls here. Anybody else want to say hello? Please do. And please put your questions in the comments as well. Okay, we're going to cover a lot today. And she was saying, why are you serving women over 40? That's not really old. It is if you're 40, but it is because that's when the body starts to change. That is when hormones change. That is when a lot of life changes happen. The kids are maybe moved out, although some of them are moving back in. A lot of times there's retirement or heading towards retirement. There may be a change in marital status as well. So 40 seems to be kind of an up and down. Hi, Colleen. There's Darren. Hello, Darren. I'm talking about you. And so in our 40s, this is when things start to change, right? And so we're kind of like, and that's when I noticed my body started to change, of course, with hormones. And we're not going to get into hormones today, but you guys should, if you, metabolism is a big one, and I can't really cover that a lot today, but I covered it in 2 videos. Really important. Metabolism part 1 and 2. It's on my YouTube channel. Okay, so just look up Karen McCoy on YouTube. And there's a lot in there that we talked about as women, young, middle, and older age. So yes, 40s, it still seems to be pretty solid, but that's when things shift. 50s, things seem to ramp up. And in the 60s is indeed when aging also happens. But that's another kind of aging where we see things coming in like, aches and pains, and might have some health issues coming in. And it really does start to change things in the 60s for sure. So I agree with my friend in the hair salon today. 60 is indeed different than 40 and 50. However, we're going to look at everything today. Okay, so first of all, food. It matters as an aging woman how you manage your food. Okay, so we go over this again on this page, on the Facebook page. If you go under guides, so go into that tab, guides, and you will see our food protocol. So the 4 food rules. So this is number of meals, macros, timing, and portions. Those are really, really important. Now, again, for those of us that have been doing this for a long, long time, it hasn't changed much for me at all. And that's where I can honestly say, if you've been doing what you've been doing for a long time, and there are some of us, not a lot of us, but there are some of us out there, a lot of my friends who have been in this world as coaches for 20, 30 years and living the life, because not every coach does, but those of us that have been doing it, the food piece doesn't alter much. And so what we find is women who have had a diet history, women who have had a lot of excess weight, or women who have gained, lost, it creates a different biochemistry. Not to say that it can't be fixed or turned around. And by the way, we don't need to be fixed, okay? We're not broken. And your metabolism is not broken. And so when we look at our food, we need to understand that we need to bring homeostasis or balance back into our food, and it is the most important time as an aging woman. Again, some of us have been doing this. I haven't changed my eating in decades, but for those who have not learned the rules, you might not have had a coach, or you might have been in the diet world because it's very prevalent. Then there's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. The best thing you can do, guys, is get strategy and structure in your meals, timings, portions, and macros. Really, really important. The first and the most golden is your protein. That is your anchor. And so I was going to do this, and I have to do this with my mastery girls. I wasn't able to do the call yesterday, but we're going to go over all of that for my mastery girls in my mastery program. Okay, guys? We're going to go over that next Wednesday in our coaching call, because I really want to hammer this in. This is where I've heard, and this is where I'm trying to steer women towards sensibility. The art of critical thinking is like been sucked out of a lot of people's heads here. So I want to bring that back. So what I see, and I'm on a couple bodybuilding pages. I love bodybuilding. That's all we had back in the 80s. But there's figure, there's physique, there's fitness, right? But it's the same thing. You're training with weights, you're tightening and toning your body, and you're going low in body fat to go into a show. And then afterwards, you want to live the life. Right? That's the most important thing. That was how I really had to learn to manage metabolism, manage my weight, manage aging years, was when I came out of 7 shows I did. And every show I came out of, I learned a little bit better how to manage it long term. Because a show's a show, but I was not in it just for the show. I was in it because I was actually in it for the health of it, which a lot of people aren't, or they want to win that trophy, which is great. But then we have to live in that body. And often that body, we feel like it deceives us because it adds on weight. We can't lose the weight again. And it's just because we haven't taught it how to have a strong, sustainable metabolism. That comes in the boring strategy and structure around your food. So please go to the 4 food rules under guides on this page on the if you're watching this on YouTube, it's on our Over 40 Fit and Lean Facebook page. There's a ton of information in those 2 metabolism videos that you probably likely haven't heard. And a lot of it's just coming through years of experience. So the food piece is important. A lot of women as they age are less carb tolerant. Now, we hear this a lot, and we hear a lot of people saying you have to lower your carbs as you're aging. Not necessarily so if it's all working fine. I want you guys to remember, and again, this was in the metabolism, what changes more is lifestyle. And we don't see it because it's just slow, okay? So, instead of playing volleyball on the beach, we're watching people play volleyball. When we're driving our kids around, well, that's not exercise, that's driving. Even walking around at work isn't really a lot of activity. And so what happens is our life slowly slows down over the years, and our metabolism follows suit. And I noticed it because I went from training a lot of women in the gym for years, and then training and doing, as I built my online business. And now I'm doing more online business. So I'm sitting more. And sometimes my calories are like 1,200 calories a day. That's it. And we also hear you shouldn't let your calories go below 1,200. It's not true, guys. I can't get into it in this chat. But that's just something that a lot of trainers are taught. And that's school, that's book, school book stuff, that's notebook stuff. It's not real experience. If I've got a woman that's 4'10", then she's not going to be able to, like 1,200, she might even be below that. So we have to keep this in mind. But as our life slows down, our caloric needs also go down, and a lot of times they demonize carbs. But we can also become more insulin intolerant, which means we don't get to eat as many carbohydrates because things just slow down. And so we want to be insulin sensitive, which means we want our pancreas to work full bore and be able to, put the insulin where it needs to go to sustain life. But as we age, if we've had a bad relationship with carbohydrates, and if there's man-made carbohydrates in there for a lot of years, what happens is we become intolerant. And so indeed, a lot of women, not everybody, but a lot of women do have to bring down their carbohydrates. Now, when we're talking carbohydrates, guys, most people don't differentiate between this carb and that carb. So there's starchy carbs, whole food carbs. There's fibrous carbs like broccoli and cauliflower and kale. You guys know how I feel about kale, okay? Please don't ever send me a gift of kale. And then there is carbohydrates like pasta and bread and all of that lovely stuff, the man-made stuff. They're not demonized. But then there's also carbs like cheesies and chips, okay? So we really have to get clear and honest with ourselves about what kind of carbs we're talking about. If you've had a diet of chips every night or cheesies or wine or, designer coffees or big trans fat carbs, then those are the carbs that are creating a carb overload in your body. And if you switch to real carbs like Mama Nature makes, you don't have to lower your carbs. But a lot of times we become intolerant because of the type of carbs. Again, when I take women to the program, we look at that. We do food plans. I look at pictures. I get a feel. I have already talked to clients coming in about their lifestyle. I need to know, what time do you eat? What about the rest of your family? Are you married? Do you have kids? Do you make food for them? All of this kind of stuff. Is your weekend the same as during the week? All of that is way more valuable than somebody giving you a food plan, guys, because you've got to know what you're working with first. And in this industry, what's happened is it has become all about who has the formula, who has the app, who has the macro percentages. So I put my photos up on a bodybuilding page because I love bodybuilding. I really do. I don't do competitors anymore. I don't do that. I had a lot of people asking me, I'm sorry, I don't train competitors anymore. I want to train lifestyle athletes that want to live this way 20, 30, 40 years moving forward. That's my jam because that's actually tougher. The competition is tough, but it ends, right? It is maintaining it as a healthy lifestyle. So I had every time I put up a bodybuilding photo, I get the classic question, so I can tell what era they're from and what they're looking at on social media. could you tell me your protein, carb, fat percentages? Is it 40, 30, 30? Is it 30, 40, 30? I'm like, oh, here we go. It's the macro thing again. Guys, macros are not magic. I don't know what my macros are. I know what my foods are and how I need to eat. I know I keep my protein up between 80 and 120 grams. Sometimes it's 150. I know that my carbs are anywhere from 80 to 160 grams. My fats, I don't even count them. I just eat, right? I let the fat take care of itself. When women come into the program, I have an average, but I'm looking more about the quality of the food, the timing of the food, making sure that she can energize her workouts, because she needs to be able to perform in the gym, because my women are strength training and they want shape, tone, tightness, healthy biochemistry, healthy organs, healthy heart, healthy lungs, and they want to be able to feel and look great. There is nothing that I maybe I shouldn't go there. Okay, so I don't want to be skinny fat. Okay, that's my thing. I don't want to just lose the weight. When I start losing muscle, I freak out. And I've had that when I had my hip replacement. So I had a hip replacement, full hip replacement. And then I had a torn meniscus, so that's in the knee. And then I had a blown out shoulder. This happens, guys, along the way. So don't worry about hurting yourself, because life will hurt you. And every time I did something like that, I had to back away from my training, right? Work around, not through. And I could see my muscles shrinking. Here's the deal. After 40, especially after 50, father time is ripping off your muscle. That is because your hormones have changed. You're not making babies anymore. And so father time says, okay, so what we're going to do is rip off all of that lean, metabolically fiery muscle, all your shape and tone and your metabolism, and we're going to start taking it off. And when that happens and you haven't changed your calories, you're maybe sitting longer, then what happens is you are changing your composition, your body composition. You are gaining more fat and you're losing the muscle. And it happens unless you specifically weight train every single muscle on the body, because you need isolation work to keep the muscle on. This is why I'm also saying to my women, get a body fat machine. I don't care how much you weigh. I care about what your body fat and your ratio to fat to muscle is, right? So it's really important that we understand strength training is absolutely necessary as we age. Minimum 3 times a week, guys. Minimum 30 to 45 minutes. And that's not the stretching, and that's not the yoga afterwards, all that kind of stuff. It is focused weight training. And I would like to see you doing it 4-5 times a week. That's what I do, is 5 times a week. Sometimes 6 if I can. Break the body up. Whole body training is not the best. If you're just starting, absolutely. Get in there, move your body. We want to move our body. But the whole body, you cannot get enough volume, which results in body results with a whole body workout, because you need a certain level of volume, meaning sets, reps, weight, the intensity piece on each muscle in order to induce it to grow. Okay, so what happens is when you're weight training, it tears the muscle down, right? You're weight training and it tears it down. Now the muscle has to knit back together again, and it knits back together again a little bit stronger to be able to manage the next workload, right? It's also important why you need to feed your body well. It needs the protein and the carbs and the fat by Mother Nature in order to aid that knitting process. So 4 to 5 times a week, strength training. Add your other stuff in, guys. Add your Pilates, add your yoga, all that great stuff. I'm all big about strength training. So if you're a yoga instructor and you think that I'm saying it's better than yoga, I'm not. What I'm talking about is the aging body, and I have seen it. I've seen it in my mother, who's 84 and now lives in a wheelchair. Her osteo is so bad. I put that picture up on this page. She's like 6 inches shorter than me. We have the same body. We're both 5'2". We have the same bone structure. What we have is 2 women who have lived in parallel universes, me over here, my mother over here, me with ample protein, at least 100 grams a day, every day, with strength training for the last 40 years, with proper attention to whole foods, hydration, recovery. I got my mother over here who didn't do any of that stuff. I'm glad she's not on this page. Okay. If any of you know her, don't tell her. Okay. And she has whittled away. So I look at that and say, thank God I made the choice when I was 21 to start in this lifestyle. Here's the deal, guys. And I know that I'm meandering around a lot, but I have so much to say about healthy aging. Healthy aging is about putting a stress on your body in order to keep it strong and supple and flexible and healthy and happy. Very few people can just age naturally, right? There's a few, but not many. The majority of people need to put a stress, or let's use another word, a challenge on the body in order for the musculature and the bones and the organs in order to strengthen and tonify, right? That's just the way it works. And I see it more, dare I say, and I'll probably get tarred and feathered for this, but I'm the real McCoy man. This is what March and April is all about. I warned you guys, I'm going to tell it like it is. No bullshit. I look at other women our age who have not created that lifestyle. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I did. In my 40s, there wasn't a lot of difference, although I was more toned and shaped just because I did my weight training. In 50s, I really noticed it. I really noticed, and I had clients that I trained at the local gym here for a lot of years. And then like a lot of people, a lot of women, they stopped training, right? And then they're like, well, life happened. Life happens to everybody, guys. I can't tell you how hard life is sometimes, but I'm not giving up my healthy living program. Why would I? So again, that's a mindset thing. We're going to get into that. And I see women that I trained years ago and then 10 years pass and it's like, oh man, if we had just kept it up for 10 years, guys, I promise you, you would be living a different life in a different body with a different level of health. And I want you guys to start looking at bringing in your healthy living program and your healthy food program into who you are, into your everyday world, and make it a part of your promise and your vision to your life. Because if you don't, life is going to take you out. And I hear that too many times. Every day I talk to women because I offer free calls, 45-minute calls. And every day I hear women say, I used to, but I don't anymore because this happened or this happened or this happened or this happened. And I'm like, okay, life happens to everybody. Why do we put it outside of ourselves, our healthy living program, and then say, okay, oh, well, maybe I can fit it in now. No, I can't now because this happened or this happened or this happened. I know sometimes there's really big stuff that happens, guys. When my son was diagnosed, it was really big. I didn't get back to lifting. Well, I was quite sick when that happened because my mind, my spirit was broken and it went into my body. And we can't talk about that today. But guys, where your mindset is at, where your spirit, where your heart is at, where your level of joie de vivre, your joy is at, or where it's not at, is going to create dysfunction in the body. And I'm going to be teaching, I've got my VIP girls in my mastery program. We're going deep into this. This is where we're going deeper into our value system. We're going deeper into the metaphysics of creating a healthy body. It's really, really important that you understand that being healthy and getting a cure for something are very different things, very different perspectives, and very different things. So you gotta move your bodies and forget about the macro percentages. Just forget about it. Train your body. Eat your food. Make sure you have protein. Get your carbs in there. You cannot lose weight and you can't have a strong metabolism, strong digestion, strong elimination without carbohydrates, guys. They have been demonized and people go, yeah, but I lost weight without it. Yeah, it was mostly water weight. Sure, you might have lost some body fat, but guess what happens? Are you going to live on 40 grams of carbs every day? Or then there's this keto thing. Most people are not doing keto. I don't want to get into that. But even people who invented keto said it's really hard to stay on and they had to get their patients off of it. And so keto, again, is another trend. So when women talk macros or they talk keto, I know what they're watching on Facebook. I know that they're caught up in this conveyor belt of trendy stuff, and they've been hanging around for the last 5 or 6 years when it's really ramped up. Everything in your language tells me a lot, right? That's also why I do the calls, so I can hear where is she coming from, what is her experience, what self-limiting beliefs are there. That's a big one. So forget the formulas, forget the macros, just eat your protein, eat your carbs, and the fat will take care of itself, right? Training, 4 to 5 times a week. Cardio, we won't get into that. That's in the metabolism, guys. I say minimize your cardio. People think I'm anti-cardio. I'm not, but it's overworked. And if you're going through in your 40s and 50s, for example, and your hormones are changing, then what's happening is you are in a stress-induced state, and then you put the stress of cutting calories or a diet and the stress of cardio on your body, and you are putting yourself down the rabbit hole physically, and your body cannot maintain. And so this is where we have to sometimes add on a few pounds in the body in order to bring the metabolism back and to bring homeostasis back into the body. Now the metabolism can work to lose the body fat. And women are so tied up with, the scale went up a pound or two. Some women weigh themselves every day. I haven't weighed myself in like 6 months. But if you're tied to the scale, then you need to have your focus elsewhere. That's why we do individualized food plans, so that we can get your brain off of trying to create formulas and trying to weigh and count and all this kind of stuff. So you can like get that stress out of your brain and put it towards more valuable stuff like living your life, getting into the gym, and just moving into a vision of what you want. Because what happens is the math and the OCD on food, or when that's too much, then women throw it all out and they eat like shit because they're like, I can't live like that. This is just too hard. And then they binge out for like weeks or months or years, right? We're not supposed to live like that, guys. We're not supposed to live in struggle. There is an easier way. Okay, so I talked food, I talked training. Let's talk mindset. Where's your level of joy on a scale of 1 to 10? And I'm not talking when you see a sunset, we're all like in a 10. I'm talking about your everyday joy. And all you guys who have gone through a call with me know that I always ask that. Usually for a lot of women that I talk to, it's between 2 and maybe 5. And what happens is, unless we're not aging well, unless all components, this is my viewpoint, unless all components physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually are at a 10. Now, do they all stay at a 10? No, they don't all stay at a 10. Life happens. But what we need to do is learn the tools to be able to, number one, recognize when things are slipping, and number two, want to do something about it. So the action piece is really important. Most people don't have the toolkit to know. It's like, well, I'll just pull up my big girl pants and get on with it. That's not transcending, that's tolerating. And all that's doing is pushing stuff aside and you're not learning anything. So the mindset piece is really important. But the other thing I want you guys to think about is having the mindset of, I want to build and maintain a strong, healthy body. I want to age well. I want to have purpose in my life. I want to wake up excited. I want to know that when life hits the fan, and it will, again and again and again, that I am able to manage the storm and rise up. And that's the most important piece, right? So there's a formula that all coaches, like big C coaches I'm talking, because everybody's calling themselves a coach these days. And it drives me crazy because I spent 30 years doing this and a ton of money and thousands of clients. Thank you very much. But there is a formula that says success is 20% strategy, 80% mindset. So the strategy piece is the movement, the exercise, the strength training, or whatever you're doing. And the food. Those are the physicalities of what we do to maintain a strong, healthy, lean body. The mindset piece is the 80%, and that's where I spend most of my time. Looking at archetypes, looking at triggers, looking at our default setting. When the shit hits the fan, where do we go? Do we go to anger? Do we isolate? Do we hide out? Do we blame and complain? Are we a wallflower? Do we try to control? A lot of people try to control. When we know our default setting, we can now become aware and conscious of what we're doing and understand that these are just tools or survival mechanisms that we crafted many, many, many moons ago as a way to survive. But surviving ain't thriving. And so at this gentle age, 40, 50, 60 plus, we now can look at it and ask ourselves, what do I really want out of life? How do I really want to live? What is important to me now? Where am I going in the next 20 or 30 years? And do I feel excitement? For me, and you know, again, I talk with women about this all the time. And one of my clients said to me, and it made sense. She said to me, you know, sometimes because she's in retirement, and I said, well, what do you want to do in retirement? She said, well, why is it that there always has to be something that we want to do? Why is it that we, sometimes I feel like I'm being judged for just wanting to maybe cook or be with my husband or travel. All those things are beautiful. And that is also a vision and a purpose. Some of us, like me, I've always been driven as a child and I'm highly motivated. And I just have a plan before I get off this earth. And I want to touch and inspire and support as many women into living a healthy life and waking up, because I feel that 90% of the population out there are asleep at the wheel. And it's all about waking up and digging in, guys. It is the grit of living a rich, rewarding, authentic life. And that's what I want. And I'm not stopping at anything. I'm just getting started. But I've been in this personal growth thing seriously for the last 30 years, investing a ton of money, but putting it into action, guys. A self-help book is not going to change your world. If you like self-help books and you like reading them, all the power to you. That is brilliant. But just understand, get that feeling inside. And this is where, as an empowerment coach, we use the map of consciousness. And this is where I'm always getting women to try to get a feel inside and put a name to that feeling to understand what's really going on. Is there a longing on your heart? Is there a, well, this is great, but is that all there is? Is there a piece of you that wished, well, I was in a job for 30 years and I loved it, but it wasn't my calling. Maybe there's something else. Follow that line. Just follow it and get curious. I always say the two best qualities, and the qualities that I look for when I'm coaching clients that also leads to their immense success in body and life, is staying open and staying curious. Because when you're open and curious, the fear melts away. You're willing to step out of your comfort zone, and you're willing to ask the questions of yourself that says, am I living up to my potential, or am I at a place where I am thriving and where I want to be? And it doesn't mean you're always there, guys, okay? So trust me, I understand this one. There are days when you go down the rabbit hole. But what we learn in doing the mastery tools, as I call them, when you learn the mastery tools, you spend less time there. And you also then have a responsibility, once you know the tools, is you have to use them. And so this is where we have a different toolkit than the majority have, because we're crafting it from a heart-centered, soul-centered place. And we're using the wisdom of the body, and we want to align with the body in order to have a holistic approach to life where the body and heart and soul and mind and spirit are all aligned. See, we're either living in resistance or flow. There's nothing in between. So when you're in resistance is when you're butting up against something. It's when you can feel it in your body, guys. You feel it in your solar plexus, okay? That is your third chakra. And that is your power place, and that's your place of confidence and self-esteem. And if you're feeling that little bit, or somebody says something, or they're trying to take you out, or you look at something and there's this pining feeling inside in your solar plexus, pay attention to it, because that is trying to show you to consider looking a little bit deeper at something that you may need to look at, or maybe something matters to you that you've put unconscious out of your vision. A lot of us are super, super busy. I get that. However, what I've learned at this age with women over 40 is that there is an awakening happening. And in that awakening, women are coming forward, and they first come to me because I'm the fitness girl. And they're like, well, I'll feel better when I lose 30 pounds. And we often look to the body first and say, if I just fix the body, I'll be happy. But once I get talking to them, what they come to realize is this is a whole meal deal. This is your life. This is your choices. This is where you've landed and how you got there. This is maybe reassessing people or places or choices that you've made. And this is where there is a slow awakening where women are saying, yeah, of course I want good health. I want to stay lean, get lean. I want to feel good in my body. I want to age well. And I also want to have a life of meaning, a life of purpose. And if I can get women to at least get to that place, then I've got a client that I know is coachable and she is ready, because not everybody's ready, and willing to step into that other layer. And there's a whole other layer beyond the job and the marriage and the parenting and the body and the training. And that's the part that's behind the veil. And that scares some people. And if it scares some people, that's, I don't care. I could care less. But usually they don't come into my program because we are woo-woo. And I had one lady say to me, oh, are you going to make me, what'd she say? Are you going to make me bang on a drum and run around with incense? I'm like, no, unless you want to. So it's always interesting what people come up with. But in the mindset piece, ask yourself, have you dimmed your light? And where have you dimmed your light? If you're craving for something, what is that craving? I want to write another book, and so I'm probably going to write another book. If I don't write it, I'm going to go off this earth and say to myself, why didn't you write that book? And I don't want to ever have any misgivings again. I've had too many in my life where I made stupid choices, and I don't ever want to feel regret again. So I'm taking it by the horns and just doing it. But my work, I'll never retire. I don't want to retire. Retirement is not, and I certainly don't want to retire the way I saw my parents retire, or, well, my friends retire, I'd say, because my parents died. Well, my mother's still alive, but my dad and my stepmom died in their 40s, and my best friend died in her early 50s, and my son has a degenerative condition. So you better believe I am serious about my health and my body, and every day I lean in. But I did that long before my family's shortened lifespan and all that kind of stuff. I did it because it mattered to me. And it still matters to me. And when I see women my age and I look around, I am so thankful for the choices that I make. And I'm thankful for the work that I'm in. But it is work, guys. Moving your body and feeding it well, and then managing your mindset. We use mantras, we use meditation, we use pause breath, we use a chink in the chain, we use inviting in archetypes, we use trigger work, all this kind of stuff. That piece is super, super important. If I didn't have the mindset piece and the spiritual anchors that I do, I'm not talking religion. Religion is great too. Of course, I have religion. Thank you, Carl. I'm thankful for you helping us. Thank you. I'm thankful that you let me help you guys, because you're allowing me to do what I'm meant to do on this planet. And without you guys, I wouldn't be able to fulfill my role, right? Because I feel we're all here to serve. And this is how I serve. So thank you. And without the, I have religious and spiritual. I kind of say that one and the same, but other people factor them out. That's okay, whatever. To have a belief in something beyond yourself, and to be in awe of it, and to hold it with grace, is my, it's my foundation. And I go to it through my meditation, through my prayer work, through my music, through my even training. I'm meditating in the gym and I'm speaking to God, ascendant beings, the spiritual beings, whoever is out there, Shakti, whatever is out there. I don't need to have a name. I just know it's there. And it's always been a force in my life ever since I was a little girl. And when I fall away, I trust that it's going to be there to always support me. And it's a beautiful way to live. So what else am I missing here before I finish up? So self-limiting patterns and beliefs are really, really big, guys. We usually can't see them ourselves. To say I'm not motivated or I've lost inspiration is not acknowledging or knowing. It is just saying I have no motivation or willpower. Why not? Why is there the fall away? Where is the fear holding you back where you're not stepping outside of your comfort zone? And so those are the self-limiting beliefs and patterns that layer over us. And when I do my body breakthrough calls with women, which is like 45 minutes, I can spot them within 5 minutes. And I can see how heavy they are in women's lives. And that's why I say what I do is not just about the training and the food. It's not just about weight loss and getting a great body, because all of that is fantastic. But it really is about taking the layers off and getting to that deepest, most beautiful, most graceful and amazing part of you. And just being able to, I always say my role is to see the greatness in others and hold it up to the light until they can see it and in themselves and carry it for themselves. That's my role. And we're all worthy and we all have that beauty within. So I like to say my girls are the 5%. The 95% is what's going on out there in the fitness and the weight loss and the metabolism and the aging world. It's insane, guys. There's a pill for everything. There's a coach for everything. There's now metabolism coaches. Somebody please tell me what school is teaching metabolism coaching, honestly, or hormonal coaching. The best coach is somebody who's gone through it and who has coached a ton of hormonal women. And I'm not the expert on it, guys. I just know what I do and I know what works for other women, but there's a lot of other choices. And people need to stay in their lane. They need to stay in their lane. So I can also tell when women are at the mercy of too much social media. I'm on it every day, but I'm not scrolling. I'm here because I have 4 Facebook pages. I have Instagram, I have YouTube, I have LinkedIn, and I am on those, and a podcast. I'm doing it because that's my work. But I can tell by the questions that women ask, or the other thing that happens is I'll be working with a client within the mastery program and she'll fall away. And what I'll find is she's out there again in media land, in social media land, trying to find something because it's not working. Well, what's not working is you are not working and we're impatient, or I fell away. And the habit of falling away means instead of, and this is what a lot of people do, guys, the habit of instead of looking within, which is what I teach my women, which is what I always do, always look at self first. They go out there to find something out there, and that's a habit. So what if you brought everything under one roof? What if you became responsible for everything? There's that saying in, I'm not sure what language it is. I think it's in some kind of native verse where, you point the finger. Well, it's out there. You point, gotta see. You point the finger out there, but there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. That's because everything starts and ends with self. This is the only thing we have power and control over, guys. The only thing. And so the 5% is women coming into the program and trying to detox them of all that stuff. And then they'll wander, and I got to pull them back and detox because they've been out there in social media land. And once again, they're talking macros, or they're back on their food app, or whatever it happens to be, right? It's like, oh, you're cheating. You're back in mainstream again. Let's bring you back, because what we need to do, guys, is understand is basic and simple. Okay. So I have been accused of being old school, as if it's detrimental. Guys, the values in doing the basics never grow stale. They never get old. I don't need a pre and post workout drink. I don't need to have a protein bar. I don't eat protein bars. I barely even have shakes. I want real food. I don't pop pills. I don't have to do fat burners or any of this kind of stuff. Even when I was in competition, I did none of that stuff. I wanted to do it knowing my body knows what to do and knows how to make the best health it can, given the right tools. And too many people are trying to, I spoke with a woman the other day, and she's on the bodybuilding page, and she said, I'm taking Optavia to get fast weight loss, and then I'm going to go back on eating whole foods. I'm like, what? So she's been floating out there in mainstream, right? and she's out there with the majority. And I said to her, getting there and staying there cannot be two different ways. It has to be the same way. But she is at 37% body fat, which is it's pretty high, and she wants to lose it, and I think she wants to get around 21% body fat. It's going to be super, super tough. I don't think her training is on target, because I looked at it, and I don't think that she has the proper coach in her corner, because she's been at it for years. And so we really, really have to be careful about who we're hiring and the expertise that comes with it, guys. So I want my women to live on the periphery. I want them to be the 5%. I want them to be the weirdos out there. I want them to learn intuitive eating, to learn to not throw away all good intentions because the weekend is here. I mean, that's just what people say. So the other night we had a little cave in the other night here on the farm at my household, and it was last night, right? It was last night, and I decided I'm gonna have a big fat slice of pie, and it was blueberry rhubarb pie, because my son bought 2 slices of pie, one for me and one for my husband. I don't normally eat pie. I don't normally eat sweets. He doesn't often come home with stuff like that, but it was sitting there, and I went, you know what? I am going to have a piece of pie, and I threw Ben & Jerry's cookie dough ice cream. You guys ever had that? Oh my God. My poor husband, I think I dug all of the dough pieces out of the ice cream, and he's just going to be left with vanilla. And I stuck it on that old piece of, hi Betsy, I stuck it on that old piece of pie, and I sat and I enjoyed that piece of pie with ice cream. Here's the deal. I didn't do it because I had a shitty day. I didn't do it and go, oh, life was so stressful, I just had to. I did it because I wanted the pie. And when it's done, it's done. And so many people are white knuckling their way through a body transformation. Push, push, push in the gym, push, push, push with the food, and then they feel this reward system coming on, and then they have to voice it with, yeah, I had a really bad weekend. You bet I had, Duncan and Heinz chocolate cake or whatever. You don't have to make excuses, but don't make it so that it becomes a reward, because then you're going to be in that roller coaster of, that is a diet mentality, guys. And that is where a lot of it gets just repetitive. And I just had a friggin' piece of pie with ice cream, and I didn't do it because I had a shitty day. I did it because I just felt like I haven't had rhubarb pie. It takes me back to my childhood in Ontario, when we had big bushes of rhubarb growing at the end of the driveway. And we used to go down there and just cut them with a big old knife. And we had a big thing of sugar, and we would put it in the sugar and eat that rhubarb on the spot. And so I just wanted to have rhubarb pie, and then I wanted to have some Ben & Jerry's, because I rarely have it, because I have my goals, and I know if I eat it every night, then it's not going to help me maintain my goals. I had 2 cookies last night just because I don't eat that stuff anymore. I didn't feel bad. Exactly. The intention behind the action is more important than the action itself, guys. What is your intention? Is the intention because, oh, I've been so good dieting for 3 weeks, I really deserve this? Or is it just saying, you know what, I really want a cookie or 2? So really be clear about your intentions, because everything is energy. Your body knows, your psyche knows, your spirit knows, your heart knows. You're not lying to anybody. But create a meaning around it that is not going to put you in a victim mentality, or put you in an either or mentality, or a feast or famine mentality. You see how all of those are just ripe with challenge? And the energy behind, because we're meaning making machines. I'm telling my girls in the mastery program all the time, we are a meaning making machines, guys. We put meaning to everything. And this is where we create new meaning. So this is where in one of our modules, we look at pain versus pleasure. And so a lot of women coming in, they're coming into the program, and the pain of, oh, do I have to limit my food? Oh, do I have to give up my Friday splurge night? Oh, do I have to give up Netflix and cheesies, or whatever it happens to be? Oh, I'm going to have to train and spend all that time trying to figure out how to get to the gym. So they make it a pain, right? Then I have them craft the pleasure part. What is the pleasure in living this way? How can we turn this around into a different meaning? I get to live in a strong, lean body. I get to have control over my food. I get to enjoy a cookie because I just want to enjoy a cookie. It doesn't control me anymore. I get to not have the sugar rush. I get to not wake up and have the morning after guilt. So everything we attach meaning to, and we can reinvent ourselves by looking at the meaning we put at it and crafting, having the courage to craft a new meaning. Oh, life is hard. Life is stressful. Okay. Are you a victim? Let's turn that around. I could look at it and go, oh, like with everything going on with my son and everything that's gone on with 2 computers blowing up and a client or a care worker that didn't show for 2 days. Yeah, it messed a bunch of stuff up. It really, really did. And I had to give up a whole weekend workshop because of it. But it's now done. So was I mad? Yeah, I was friggin' mad. You better believe I was. That is where I go to. I don't isolate. So again, where do you go? Do you go in isolation? Do you go in shame or guilt? Do you go in overwhelm? I was overwhelmed and I was angry. And I got the anger out. And then I went to the ocean. And I mentioned about this in my email this morning to y'all who are on my email list. I went to the ocean and I cried. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And it was raining out and I was soaked and I didn't give a shit. I just cried. And then I stopped and I did a little walk. And then, Marilyn, I love you. Hi, Karen. I'm watching you while I work on my taxes. You are a distraction I needed. Get your taxes done, Marilyn. Be careful where you dot the I's and cross the T's, okay? And don't put an extra 0 in there. And so I cried, but here's the deal. I will finish with this. I can never, they always say keep your videos to 20 minutes. Oh, it's so hard for me. I have so much to say. I have so much to teach. I have so many women to support. And if you turned off by now, it's okay. And I walked a bit and then I stopped and cried some more. Here's the deal. You got to feel your feelings. But then when you feel them, you learn to maneuver through them to a higher level, because I spent years feeling my shit and I didn't transcend. And every time something came up, I'd go, see, there it goes again. See, life is unfair, right? And I was making a story that life was unfair and it's just going to hit me again. Well, I wasn't transcending anything. And this led into more depression and more panic attacks and more drugs and alcohol, bad men, all of that kind of stuff, until I finally went at 29 years old. I went, that's it. I'm done. I need to learn a new way. I put that out into the universe. I focused on it. I envisioned it. And guess what? The universe, I'm telling you, is like the skies parted and all these people and all this stuff over time came towards me. And I recognized it as, yes, thank you. That's what I asked for. Yes, thank you. That's what I asked for. And I was able to start piecing together a new way of living and being in this world that allowed me to learn and grow and get out of victim mode, get out of anger, and be able to move into my highest good. That is what I want for every woman. And we need to do it keeping our body healthy, feeding our body well, and loving this vessel, guys. This vessel of ours is the only body we got. And this vessel is responsible for taking us through this beautiful life. And when I see women and men, thank you. My mindset is so strong since learning your thought process. There you go, girlfriend. Yes. This body deserves our respect. And I see too many people treating their body like shit. And what I mean by that, excuse me for swearing, what I mean by that is if you're not moving it and training it and challenging it, then you're still treating it like shit, guys. Because probably shouldn't say that. Now I'm going to get a bunch of emails. I'm sorry. But no, honestly, as we age, we can't just age naturally. It doesn't work. And I see it every day. I live in a seniors area, like a lot of you guys do who are on the call with me. You know what I'm talking about. They spend more on their cars than they do on their bodies and health. I am not talking about people who have health issues because they were born with it or something happened along the way, a trauma or an accident. I get that. I get that more than most people. Okay, I've got a kid who has a DNA issue. However, that boy of mine is about supporting his body as best he can. He takes care of his food. He manages his drink. He likes his beer. He likes his craft beer, but he manages it because he knows it's the only body he's got. And his body at 28 is like an 80-year-old because that's what happens with this condition that he has. And he manages it. Did I have anything to do with that? I don't know. Maybe him watching me all these years and how I teach, maybe. But I think because he has a chronic debilitating body challenge issue, he is more aware of the severity and the priceless nature of having a working body. And he respects it because he needs to in order to try to support it as best he can with a chronic condition. And I see my mother, who is now in a wheelchair at 84, and she is bitter, and she is blaming, and her daughter is in health and fitness, and I spoke to her many times over the decades, and she just chose another way. And yes, is it a generational thing? Yes, it is, for sure. It's a generational thing. But I was still there saying, let's get you to the gym. Let's get you a trainer. Having cream in your coffee does not mean it's calcium and it's not going to help your bones. And the 8 cups of coffee you're having every day is acidifying your body and it's hurting your bone structure, right? And she never ate meat. I wouldn't say she's a vegetarian, but she just doesn't like meat. And so she never got the protein. She has terrible osteo. Because of that, she has terrible pain. She can no longer walk, and it is hitting her mentally now. And she is going into depression, and she needs care. She's only 84. And then I have my neighbor who is also 84. He's an ex-yoga instructor. I met him this morning on my walk at 6:30. And we were having a chat. He's 6'2". He is robust. He is strong, and he still does his yoga. He no longer teaches classes, but he still does. And he and I were chatting about it. The movement and the focus on the body is an absolute necessity. His wife is very, very challenged as well, and she's 82, and she's lost such muscle mass that she has a hard time getting up. And he said, could you help her with strength training? She's 82. Can we get it back? We can get a certain amount back, guys, but we've got to start now, right? Because I'll say to people, there's a point of no return. And they say, well, where's that point? I'm like, what do you mean, where's that point? Don't wait for it to get there. You just have to, turn that boat around now, man. And, we're living longer, but we're not living better. So I hope this call helped you a lot to understand that healthy aging is, it's a job. It's another job. And I often see this in retirees too. I have a lot of women moving into retirement, and when they move into retirement, they say, now I'm ready to take care of things. Man, you can't wait till retirement. I had one woman, local woman, say, when I retire, I'll call on you to get it. I just don't have time now. I'm like, man, you can't not. Right? This is where we have to weave it into our everyday life. Strength train, eat well, manage your recovery, manage your sleep. I know it's a little bit hard as we age. We do lose our deep REM sleep as we age, guys. That's part of it. All of that kind of stuff happens as we age. And sometimes things just happen with an aging body. More aches and pains, more things can happen in our 60s, but we can only manage what we can and just be able to focus on that. Let's focus on what we're doing right and step in and do it right, not on what's not working, because we'll always find something that's not working. And that's the fear bias that's born into us. We are born with the fear bias, and the fear bias says we will look to see what's wrong before what's right. And that's a survival mechanism that's wired into our psyche, into our brain. And that is what we need to override at all times if we want to live a rich, fulfilled, healthy life moving into our aging years. All right, you guys, thank you so much. I'm going to sign off now. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below the video here. I will most certainly get them back to you. I'll think about something I can send out to you guys as far as a little bit of a gift. I'm just trying to think. I've got so many things I can send, but let me thank you. Thank you, Isabel. I always appreciate and learn from your coaching. Thank you. I'm glad you guys are here. Some of the girls from my mastery program. I love that. I love to see them just like sponges, man. Be a sponge. If you're a sponge and you're open and curious, you're going to live an amazing life. But move your body and feed it well, and always manage that beautiful mindset, that heart and spirit of yours. Okay, you guys, lots of love. Thanks for being here. Take care. Ciao.